Good morning.
Good
It's a
morning. Does that sound
beautiful Wednesday. I don't know. I can't hear anything yet. I don't
Okay.
have my ears in. I'm Tiffany Carlen with Nona Reed here on JoCo Vibes. It's cloudy Wednesday morning here in Johnson County, Texas, but still a beautiful day. And why? Because we woke up.
good? Yes.
It's another day to be alive and make things happen and do good things and make a difference in the world.
Yes.
So, and today we're going to start this first half hour off, just kind of catching up on what we've been doing for the week so far. We've had quite a few candidates on. So grateful for them joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know each of them and why they're running for office and why they've chosen the offices that they're running for and it's been good. And honestly,
Right.
they're all just new people that we don't know. I wish each of them didn't know.
Right. We
I
know
now
now.
feel like I know them better. And I wish them each the best of luck in these county
Yes.
and state races. And speaking of state races, we have state Senate candidate um,
Warren Nord.
Warren Nord joining us today. I was
10 at 10.
He's at 10 at 10:30. Evelyn Brooks, who is running for
State
Board of Education.
I think District 14.
And Larry Woolley was supposed to be joining us today, but we had to move him to another day. He's a
Hopefully
little
he'll
under the
join
weather.
us tomorrow.
But in his place, we have
No. He was 9, and
and Mr.
9:30 is Mr. Mark Eder.
Mark Eder is our first guest. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. See.
And I keep trying to put him in the wrong position or primary candidate.
Precinct commissioner.
Precinct commissioner.
Yes.
For some reason, I keep trying to put him in county judge. That's Mr.
Mizell.
Who's tomorrow.
Yes.
So
I can't see.
trying to keep it all straight without looking and without using our cheat sheets.
You did really good, actually. I was kind of hoping you'd have it on the table.
Well, I'm working on that. It's still pulling up also.
Yeah, I just had to pull everything up too. So, while we have this 30 minutes of, I want to say free air time, but I want to say non, candidate time, want to remind everybody that it is Black History Month.
Yes.
And if you don't know what that means by now, I don't know where you've been living. But dive in. We're going to dive in a little bit here in just a few minutes. But it's a beautiful 64 degrees. It's very muggy. And it's going to be a little windy today.
Wind has been notorious.
But, none of that matters really unless you're working outside. So sorry for any of those.
Or driving an hour home.
Driving out home. That was you last night.
Yes,
it was pretty windy. Went to take care of your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still looking for. So we've got something else going on here that if we don't talk about it today, I don't think we're going to get an opportunity to talk about it before Friday.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But Friday here in Burleson, there is a special city council session. Right. For those that have been paying attention, a bond committee was put together to approve or disapprove it was originally $88 million. It dropped down to $86 million bond. And not like that was a giant, leap,
right,
but
right.
It did drop down. And that was for stuff for the fire departments, the police departments, and roads. And there might've been a few other things in there. I haven't read through the whole bond to see exactly what was on there. Regardless, it is a very large bond. But that's the whole purpose of putting it to the people. Yeah. You put a bond together and you put the vote to the people and you let the people decide what they want and what they don't want. And everything was approved. Bond committee approved it. Multiple people were on that bond. There's actually a list of the bond committee members are in the agenda packet for this coming week, correct?
Yes.
Isn't that where you read that?
Yes.
So there was a little something odd happened just even last week in Burleson City Council. All of a sudden, City Councilman Ronnie Johnson made a speech and said that he didn't believe it was the right time for this for the people who are struggling to put food on their table. I don't really understand that exact saying really because we're at the lowest unemployment rate in forever. We're at like 3%. So I don't really see what the struggle is. We were definitely in a struggle during the pandemic. And thank God for places like Harvest House, Pathway Church, and so many other the food banks all over the place that were feeding people was an absolute blessing. And then of course all the people who donated and got out there and were delivering food and stuff like that. So I don't see that we're in that same place, but regardless, $86 million is a very large bond. However, he originally voted and approved for it, and all of them did. And so he made a speech, and then all of a sudden they vote, and what they were voting for was to approve the elections, the process,
to bring it to the people.
Well, they already voted for that. They were voting for to approve the election process.
Okay,
where it was going to be, when it was going to be, the name of the room, that kind of stuff. So all of a sudden, Ronnie Johnson, Victoria Johnson, and Rick Green, without any other discussion on the dais, so in public, and they all voted, all three of them voted twice against the election process. So this interferes again with bringing it to the people, which is the whole point of a bond election, is to bring it to the people and give people the voice as to what they want to approve or not approve. There are some things in here now that get sticky because you have CO bonds that can replace a bond election, and CO bonds can appear to cost the people less money and a city less money. Oops.
But
oops, I didn't mute myself.
But it doesn't.
It
appears.
It appears.
It's not transparent.
Right. So there's some things, and I'm still trying to understand it, and I've received some information to hopefully help understand that better. And I'm trying to get that back open if I can. So there's more to it, and there's some things that are really important to understand about all of this. You do not have to go to city council and be in chambers in order to participate and listen and learn. You can watch online. So we will post the link to the page where you can get to that live feed. And you can watch it from wherever you want to. And, because you can't complain later and not participate and see what's going on. And, that kind of goes for the same thing too, as we're learning from the candidates who've been at this table the past couple of weeks. The commissioner court meetings, those are all online too. And so if you're wondering what's going on in the county, you can watch those too. They're a lot longer. Be prepared. They're a lot longer, but it's important. And just like some of the candidates talked about, including Chris Bedecker said it best yesterday, actually, he goes, local government's the most important government. It's where we have our voice mostly in local government. And so you've got to be paying attention to what's going on locally and voice your opinion, voice your vote. And we've got voting coming up, and these non-national election times really usually have lower voter turnout, as we've seen with city elections. And so I'm begging people, please get out and vote.
Right.
Please get out and vote. We've got Senate district races that are really, really important. And this is the primaries. So, this is the primaries. So again, you're only really going to see Republicans at this table during the primaries, because there are no incumbents, Democratic races here in Johnson County for the primary. There will be in the May election.
Right.
So that's obviously where we'll have some of those candidates at the table. And, that's to any of them that will say yes to us. So, and to any of them, I mean, they all get busy and they all get called. So I'm really appreciaptive that, being a local community radio station, that these candidates have said yes.
We've had great turnout. I'm still I'm excited about, finally getting our 2 state senators for the primary, for Republican primary. They'll be on today and tomorrow. So I'm super excited. Phil King will be tomorrow, but he probably will be by phone, because he's probably going to be in the car. I've already checked.
Oh, he'll be.
So he probably won't be streaming. Okay. But still, just for them to give us, 20, 30 minutes of their time is great. And I'm still working on some others that are higher
Yes.
up, you know.
Yeah,
But
we're hoping to get some of the governor candidates in
I
here.
know I can get them. I know I can get them.
All right. So I just so before Friday's bond, here's what they're
I was about to say.
Okay, so
Explain
here's
why are we having the special session if it was already voted on? Explain why. Why are we coming back to it?
We are coming back to it because of this split vote.
Mm-hmm.
It really does affect how the bond can actually happen now.
Okay.
It's really important to have a unified council when it comes to this. And right now they're not unified in it.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're taking it back to the dais to discuss it publicly. I believe they'll go into they'll recess into executive session first. And then they'll come out citizens appearance. I'm sure some people are going to get up and talk about this. I hope they do, whether you're for it or against it or whatever.
Right.
To me, I'm for it strictly because I believe in giving the people the vote and the right to voice what they want. That's what this is about. It's not up to council. It's up to the people. So you're now voting to take it away from giving people a voice as to whether they want this bond or not. I mean, it's up to the taxpayers. It's not up to council. So I feel some of them have backpedaled now and saying, oh, no. Politics is more important than giving voice to the people.
Right.
That's how I view it. It's my own personal opinion, and I don't care if you like my personal opinion or not. That's just my personal opinion. So here's what's going to happen on Friday. Consider and take action on a motion to reconsider the approval of an ordinance calling a special bond election to be held on May 7th. The presenter will be Dan McClendon, Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Pro Tem Dan McClendon did vote yes,
but then went back.
No, he's not back. He's not backpedaling. He's just the presenter, and he's the presenter because, he's really great at what he does on council. So it just makes sense, and he's the mayor pro tem. So he's going to present the pros and cons as to why now a split council. It doesn't mean that he's changed his mind.
Oh. I was like, are we having an issue again?
I didn't know where it was at.
I was about to start dancing.
Got to go to mute.
Don't stop.
So the next part of it is going to be consider and take action on a motion to reconsider the approval of a resolution declaring the intent and commitment to create a contract with the voters, stipulating the proceeds from the bond shall be used for the projects identified in the ordinance calling the May 2022 bond election, directing the city manager to implement the May 2022 bond program in accordance with the specific projects and programs set forth in this resolution and the propositions approved by the voters, and declaring an effective date. So again, Dan McClendon, Mayor Pro Tem, will be putting that up there. So there are some specific differences between a bond and a CO bond. And so they have to take it back now, because if it doesn't get approved, if the bond election, let's say it goes to the people and the people say no, it limits the city's ability to get a CO bond. And this was a very quick explanation that was given to me. It limits
by
that somehow.
A city person
who
works for the city.
I did get information. So and I reached out to some people in other cities and people who have experience with this prior.
Right. Well, I know some people are trying to give advice that don't really. It's amazing how quick they got that information.
Yeah. Well, I'm just kind of going. I try to go to the experts because I'm not an expert in this field. But there are types of bonds, just to give people some ideas. There's a general obligation. There's certificate of obligations, revenue, and then there's bond debt. Must be used for capital projects and cannot be used for operations. General bond application, which is called a GO. Authorized at an election. Propositions are specific to use, but can be general in nature. For example, $50 million for streets and drainage has to be used for streets and drainage. Payable from a levy of property taxes. Certificate of obligations, a CO. It's a notice of intent to issue COs is published for 45 days. The bonds can be subject to a petition by 5% of the registered voters. After verification from the city secretary's office, the projects can be forced into a bond election. Bonds are pledged by property taxes. So that's a lot to digest, and I personally cannot break it down, and I could not get someone in here fast enough who could break this down for people on air before Friday. But I believe we'll get a better explanation between what's happening here and why it's important for the city council, for the council to actually be united as a front for this, because they don't want to be limited on not being able to get certain things done. And that's what's happened. The crazy thing is that people who headed the bond committee and who were all voted yes for it are now flipping and are on social media saying, no, we shouldn't do it.
Right.
So what happened after the bond committee? Who's influencing
people need to look who's on the bond committee? The actual citizens are on the bond committee too. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and it's just interesting. So I know that there were some very heated discussions. There was actually quite a bit of arguing with the city manager, who is very knowledgeable on this information. There was arguing with other people. There was a lot of arguing that happened during this, but they came to an agreement and they voted and put it out there to 86 million, and that was the people. So I'm trying to understand what happened post bond committee,
right?
That all of a sudden
there's
several of them
division.
Several of them are against it. So maybe we'll learn more. I don't know, maybe people will step up and tell some truth about why they've changed their mind.
I would like to. Can the bond committee people be there to talk? Do we know that?
Yes.
I think
they can put in a speaker card. So it would be interesting to see if anybody does, and
because they definitely have
the
insight because they have been there.
Yeah, so it's the same thing that's Jamie Stanford saying, why are they not unified? Why wouldn't they want to give citizens a right to vote? And that's some of the questions that we want to have answered. So hopefully we'll get those answers on Friday, but you can only get them answered if you're there or you're watching online. So I'm going to include, if you're on social media, if you're on YouTube, and if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're watching on Facebook, you will see this in the comments and you can click and go right to it. If you're watching on LinkedIn and Twitter, the comments do not show up from us, but you can go to burlesontx.com and click on the agendas and minutes and meetings, and pay attention to what's going on in your city. You've got to know what's going on. You got to understand why your property taxes are what they are, why they could go higher. And that's the same thing with the commissioner's courts meetings. They're not necessarily talking about property taxes, but man, we should be talking about property taxes big time. So, and we're going to get into that conversation a little bit when Mr. Norrid joins us, because he's got some stuff on his website that are and his platform that are specifically for that, running for Senate District 10.
Yeah, if you want to speak but can't come, you have to turn in a speaker card, but you cannot turn a speaker card in once session has started, correct?
Online.
Right.
If you're in person,
you can do it at any time. But if you're not going to be able to make it because it is a 9 o'clock and people are at work, you can turn in a speaker card and speak, but you have to do that before session starts.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Are
you reading comments? It is.
That is a good question. I mean, why?
What's the question?
Why are they not unified?
Oh, I just said that.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I had to go let one of our primary candidates in. So,
all right. So
that is a good question.
A little fun stuff. It is National Marriage Week. Go figure. It's Valentine's.
Why am I having such issues with
I have to tell you, if you want a holiday, you can actually get a national holiday. You can just go apply for one. That's how
I think I'm going to go and apply for one.
That's how a lot of these happen. But today specifically is National Almond Day. It's Tim Tam Day.
Tim Tam?
It's a candy.
Oh.
It's Elizabeth Peratrovich Day. I'm going to have
I don't
to
know who that is.
I'm going to have to click on that one
And
so we can learn a little bit about
Tim
her.
Tam, I'm still going, what? I've never heard of that.
So, honor the woman who began a new era in Alaskan racial relations. This is a great one. Honor the American activist Elizabeth Peratrovich. On Elizabeth Peratrovich Day, observed on February 16th, she fought for equal rights for Native Alaskans her entire life. And so, on February 16th, each year, Alaskans get together to commemorate this legend. While this is not a public holiday across the U.S., some Alaskan businesses, shops, and institutions close in honor of this day. Well, happy day to them. And we should be celebrating people who make a difference like that. So,
Right.
it's also National Innovation Day, and Do a Grouch a Favor Day.
Oh,
I guess we can. Innovation Day is commemorated on February 16th to recognize the role that new knowledge plays in making a country more advanced and powerful. This day is a great way to not only make the existing crop of scientists feel valued and appreciated, but it also inspires young people to pursue a career in technology and innovation. This special day celebrates the achievements of the scientific community and opens the doors to new technologies, inventions, and careers for the younger generation. Full on believe in that. This is how our nation was born.
Mhm.
We were born with innovators, builders, creators, crafters, and who were all entrepreneurs. And when you look back, at the beginning of our nation, there was no big corporation here. There was
Right.
no big corporation that people worked for. They were all their own business,
Mhm.
farmers, growers, builders. Anyway, so I love innovation, and I love being a creator myself and an entrepreneur. So if you've got an idea, get out there. There's so many different ways to present it, so many different ways to find people who will help you take your idea to fruition and make it happen. By the way, if you're tuning in on Facebook or YouTube, you can also take us on the go and listen to us directly on the radio at tuneinjoco.com. That's JOCO for Johnson County, tuneinjoco.com. You can download the free TuneIn Radio app currently there. We will always be on TuneIn, but soon you will actually be able to go directly to JoCo Community Radio, our own app.
Yay!
On Android and iOS. And it will be a free download. And we're just trying to make it simpler and easier for people to find us. No, and TuneIn Radio you do not have to pay for TuneIn Radio. It's a free app. They try to get you to subscribe.
Just X out of it.
But yeah, we just X out and go through. So, and of course, you can always watch us on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. So it just depends on where you like to watch or listen. But you can do that. You can also listen live on Spreaker, and then you can also find all of our shows on any one of your favorite podcast platforms, such as Spotify, iTunes, and so on. We live forever on the internet.
Yes, we do.
If you care to know. If you care to know.
It's all out there.
So what else you got? What else you got before we go on?
Oh my gosh. I looked up Tim Tam.
Yes, what'd you find?
So it is like a candy bar.
Yes.
I've never seen them before.
I've heard of it. I don't remember ever eating one, but I have heard
different kinds.
of it.
There's caramel, a double coated, just original. But I'd never heard of them before. So
okay.
I was gonna say,
if you've eaten a Tim Tam bar, let us know.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, they have mint, dark chocolate. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's like a wafer inside or what. I can't tell. There is wafers. Yeah. I don't know if that's all the same. Anyway, if you've had one, hey, let us know. Hey, and if you know where you can get one, it's National Tim Tam Day. Might as well have one, right?
I guess we'll just see if we can find one. Okay. So it's Black History Month, and we don't have to be Black or African American to celebrate the history of Black and African Americans in the United States and in history. But it's if you've never read about it, it really is important. important to read about it because we're important in our history of this nation. Every piece of it is important. But Black History Month is an annual celebration of achievements by African Americans and a time for recognizing their central role in U.S. history. Also known as African American History Month, the event grew out of Negro History Week, the brainchild of noted historian Carter G. Woodson and other prominent African Americans. Since 1976, every U.S. president has officially designated the month of February as Black History Month. Other countries around the world, including Canada and the United Kingdom, also devote a month to celebrating Black History Month. I don't know if theirs is different. They just talk about a month. Do you have you got them. Yeah. The story of Black History Month begins in 1915, half a century after the 13th Amendment abolished slavery in the United States. That September, the Harvard-trained historian Carter G. Woodson and the prominent minister Jesse E. Moreland founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, an organization dedicated to researching and promoting achievements by Black Americans and other people of African descent. So praying that you guys will all dive into that and learn more about this, and we'll try and touch on this anywhere that we possibly can.
Yes.
Over the coming weeks. We'll be right back with our first guest, Mark Eder, in just a few moments.
Abnormal realities.
I love my mom.
Yep. She sent me a message.
My mom did?
Yeah, Wednesday night. And she invited me over tomorrow night to watch Titanic and share a bowl of popcorn. And I accepted.
You did?
Yep.
That'd be fun.
And she calls it Chaps Only Night. Every Saturday night.
Look.
Miss Dixie,
Look,
how you doing? He said, it's my mom, bro. All right, it's my mom.
I want to hear the answer to the Titanic and popcorn. Go ahead, Mom. What's up?
Oh!
Hi, boys. I
Mom.
just wanted to ask Rocky if he wanted butter on that popcorn or not.
I would rather have the butter somewhere else, but if popcorn's the only place I can have it, I'll take it.
Jeez,
hey,
dude.
nobody says I can't roll around in it for a little bit.
All right, Mom.
That is my
Love
girl.
you.
I love you,
Mom.
Dixie.
Abnormal realities.
Bye, Mom. Love you.
Dixie.
Bye. I love you too.
With Ron and Rocky. Weekdays, 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. on JoCo Community Radio.
Holy crap.
I would like to personally invite you out to the Blue Family Fund Casino Night. An evening of all your favorite casino games, next level auction items, great music, and an open bar. February 26th, 7 p.m. at the beautiful TX Whiskey Ranch in Fort Worth, Texas. All proceeds from the evening will benefit families of first responders. You need to get your tickets today at bluefamilyfund.org.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second half of JoCo Vibes here on JoCo Community Radio. I'm Tiffany Carlen with Nona Reed, and we've got our first guest of the day joining us, Mark Eder. I've been saying it wrong for days now. We've been saying Eder. We're so sorry, Mark.
That's okay.
You'll have to forgive us, which I think you already have. And it was just great. Mark Eder, thank you for introducing yourself. So do you have to do that quite often? Do most people say Eder?
Eder, elder, we get all different stuff.
I know,
so.
That was a typo. The first promo I put up yesterday, and I caught it, and then I didn't switch the new one, and then I finally did. So anyway, welcome back, guys, to the, I'm going to say, the second half of JoCo Community Radio, although we've got an extended hour to the show today. If you're tuning in for the very first time, JoCo Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network. To listen on the radio, go to TuneIn JoCo, that's JoCo.com, and download the free app. We are streaming live simultaneously also on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Spreaker. So there's many ways to watch. And of course, if you are a listener later on or always want to go listen later on, you can find any of our shows on any one of your podcast platforms, such as Spotify, iTunes, and Amazon and Spreaker. Just search for the show title and you will find them. You can check out our lineup and more on JoCoCommunityRadio.com. Thanks for tuning in. This episode and more brought to you by Patriot Claims, making your insurance work for you. Storms happen. Hail happens. You got to have someone who's ready to advocate in your corner with your insurance company. That's right, because 99% out of the 99% of the time, they do not want to pay the full amount of the claim. I think we've all been there before. So reach out to your Texas sales rep, Nona Reed, and get her in your corner before the next storm hits. It's free. A public adjuster will come out and get it right for you and help you work with your insurance to get paid properly. Call toll-free 844-TEX-HAIL. That's 844-TEX-HAIL. And she'll call you back.
Yes, I will.
All right. Thank you. Andrew Nolan's commenting right now. Please go vote.
Yes.
And if you have any questions about any candidate, make sure you reach out to the candidate directly. Absolutely, Andrew. JCRVTX.com will give you all the locations where you can go vote. Early voting is going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to learn more about another candidate sitting at our table, Mr. Mark Eder. Right now, Mark, thank you so much for joining and saying yes to us here at JoCo Vibes. For those that don't know you, tell us who you are. Where do you live? What are you running for?
Why you decided.
Thank you. I want to thank both of you for having me here today. Once
you.
again, Mark Eder. I'm running a Republican candidate for Johnson County Commissioner, Precinct 4. I'm a native Texan. I've lived in Johnson County for the past 43 years. Was born in Hurst, Texas, and family moved here in the late 70s, started first grade. So I attended Burleson ISD, graduated from Burleson High School, back when we only had one, home of the Elks. But from there, I started my career in technology. I've spent the last 31 years in the IT field. I began 19 years old at working for the Cow Pasture Bank in Rio Vista. For those locals that remember that far back, I worked in the data processing department. Started working nights there while I was attending college at Tarleton State University in Stephenville, and spent 5 years with the bank. Spent a lot of time, getting to know a lot of the people there. And Mr. Smith, obviously, we just lost recently this past year, but he was an amazing man to work for. From there, I moved on and took a position with Vicor in Irving. It was a doctor's clinic, basically 47 physicians clinics in Irving and Las Colinas, where I was the IT director and managed all their operations. It's been about 3 years there, and then moved to municipal government. So I worked for the city of North Richland Hills in their IT department for 6.5 years, and then was notified of an opening in Burleson. Obviously, Burleson was my hometown where I grew up, and ended up taking a job with Burleson as the first IT director in their history. Started as a one-man shop. Spent 17 years there, grew that to 11 people and a $4 million budget. Just recently left there back in October and was just looking for new challenges. My wife worked for the city of Burleson, and she retired in 2017. Together, we opened a small business in town. It's Wild Birds Unlimited in the Target Shopping Center.
Oh, yeah. That's
yours.
exactly
What that is.
So we've had that for about 5 years.
Awesome.
And just, looking for something different change. And, we've lived in Joshua for 16 years. My wife, Michelle, and my daughter, Lauren. Lauren's 11. She's a fifth grader at Plum Creek Elementary in Joshua. And we attend Pathway Church here behind us. And, but I guess after, leaving that field, I've worked in public sector for the past 23 years, and I really wanted to keep that moving forward. Talked to a lot of people, a lot of friends, and just a lot of frustrations over, current climate and county government and things that are going on within our precinct. One of the biggest issues that I've been pushing is better maintenance of our roads and our infrastructure, our drainage. I started researching specifically Precinct 4 and looking at their budget for road maintenance. It's $747,000 the last 3 years. In 2019, they only spent 61% of that budget. In 2020, they spent 55% of the budget, and in 2021, they spent 31% of that budget.
Wow.
So obviously, we've been taxed to death. There's property taxes, my next item, but from a infrastructure standpoint, if we're budgeting that money, we're taking tax dollars. I think that we need to be spending that money for where it's intended. I've driven all over the Precinct 4, all the county roads. Some of them are better than others, but there's some that they're just not safe to travel. They're not wide enough. You can't even pass a car at a posted speed limit without pulling over or possibly having an accident. And I've watched school buses slide off the edge of the road. And to me, our children's safety is the most important. We need to be able to make sure that they've got a safe route to and from schools. The other part about the maintenance is the drainage. We've got a lot of development going on. We've had problems, where people are coming in and clear cutting land, and then drainage is just washing people out downstream and so forth. My current area, we get an inch of rain and the water's going over the road. The ditches don't carry the water load that they need to. They have another line item budget. It's $125,000 a year for minor bridge and culvert repair. I looked at that one, and in 2019, they spent 58% of that budget. In 2020, they spent 2%. So $2,200 of $125,000. And then last year, they spent 15%. So
where did the rest of the money go?
Well, I assume that it goes back into a general fund. Looking at their budget as a whole over the past 3 years, it's been about $3.7 million, and they've spent about $1.9 million. So I know that there's 22 full-time employees there. They've got some temporaries that probably work during the summer, with asphalt and street crews. But it was just concerning to me that, if you're taxing us that money, why is that money? Where's it going? I mean, if it's going back in the city coffers to earn, or the county coffers to earn a 1.5-2% interest for a later date, I don't think that that's fair. I think that.
Do you feel some of that's the less spending was due to the pandemic, and because we weren't getting out there and we weren't able to work? I mean, obviously we had a lot of positions that were allowed to be working because they had to be. They were necessary. Do you feel that was affecting it in some way?
I'm sure that probably had an effect on it. Obviously, 2020, when that first started, a lot of us, were finding our way and didn't really know what to do. And like I said, I've just quoted over the last 3 years. Personally, being in the county, being a resident that long, I don't feel that there's been anything done in 8 to 10 years in the northern part of that precinct. Driving around Grandview and Alvarado, Venus area, a lot of those roads out there, the people have larger tracts of land. There's not as many people piled in on top of each other as you get closer to Joshua and Burleson and Alvarado. I just think that the road infrastructure hasn't been maintained, and throwing a little asphalt in a hole or chip sealing over potholes that have already been filled, it needs to be. I believe in creating a plan. Obviously, there's nothing out there today that says, here's our plan, here's what we're doing this year, here's what we're doing for the next 4 years. In my line of work, that was something we always did. I mean, you project 3 to 5 years out, you move forward with that, but you also have to give that insight to the taxpayers. One of the things that I'm really pushing for is more open government and transparency. Today, if you log onto the website of your county commissioner, it's their picture, their name, their email address, their phone number. All you can do is call. There's no information there at all. If you want to find out information on the county, you've got to go back and watch hours of video of their meetings or go through the agendas. There's just not a simple way to pull that information out. One of the things that I would like to do is create an interactive website or even a mobile app to where you have more accountability and accessibility to your elected representatives. Like I said, to me, it's those core values are things that we need to make more prominent in that area. I've spent 31 years in IT. The biggest part of my position was customer service and communication. And those are things that I hold very close to me. If you can't communicate with people, if you're not taking care of your people, then I don't think that that's a place that you need to be.
So I went ahead and went to the Precinct 4 page like you're talking about, and there's not a lot there except for how to contact the Precinct 4 commissioner. finding a map to even know. I think most people, unless you go and you pull out your voter registration card that tells you what precinct you're in, most people do not know what precinct they live in. And so, and with having some of the previous candidates that we've had on the past week, that's been a big conversation, is county communication with the people.
Right.
It's such a lack of that. I can speak for Burleson as a city only because they're working very diligently to make communication a lot better with the people. So I love that. I've heard that quite a bit here at the table so far, is changing how we're communicating with the people from the county. The more we know about local government, this is where our voice is heard the most.
Exactly.
And so if we don't have an ability to communicate regularly, it's nobody's hearing us.
Right.
And I think it also deters people from communicating. So your ideas to change that, what would you change about, or what would you update about this page that would make you more accessible to the people specifically?
To me, there's a lot of 311 applications and so forth out there where you can report potholes, you can report a tree down, somebody's dumped, large items in the ditch. Obviously, in the county, I live on a long straightaway with a curve, so somebody can sit down there and make sure there's no cars coming and throw out a truckload. So, but just to be able to communicate that, that there's an issue. One of the things that really pushed me to run for this, I have some elderly neighbors that live up the road, and the road's very highly traveled. And I was visiting with her one day, and she knew that I'd left my position at Burleson. She says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I'm thinking about running for county commissioner." And she said, "Please, please do. I just want somebody to listen." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, this road floods every time we get a normal rain event of an inch." She had called the county commissioner's office every Monday for 17 months and 1 week before somebody showed up. And to be able to have, I've called and made requests before. I would get a superintendent or the lady that answered the phone help, but to go that far and just not have somebody come out or at least put eyes on the situation, see what was going on. When they finally showed up, it took them about 4 hours to clear out 100 foot of the ditch, and we've never had an issue anymore. But it happened for so long that now the road's deteriorated because of all the water going over the road. And, are we going to properly fix that all the way down to the base level, or are we just going to throw asphalt on it as it makes potholes? And there were just walking around and talking to people, visiting people throughout that precinct. There were just multiple stories like that. And like I said, to me, accountability and accessibility is number one. From a website, you should be able to type in the search bar, whatever your topic is that you're looking for, and be able to be taken to that. That is a blank page. You can't find anything without physically going through and just, and looking at agendas or looking at meetings, or, it's just not a simple fact. And being in the IT world, I think that we could be more open and more progressive in that area.
Do you believe that having your taxpayers participate at commissioners' courts meetings is important? And is there an opportunity? And I confess, I have never watched one. I've never attended one, and that is going to change going forward, because I actually didn't know that it was public.
Right.
I didn't know they were open to the public, just like a city council meeting. So, can you take out a speaker's card during these meetings?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Now I understand they're a lot longer.
Very long. I believe they even take a lunch break. Of course, they're held during the day, so it's not like a city council meeting where it's in the evening. But you can participate there. They have rather large agendas, but I do believe that the constituents need to be involved in that process. They need to be. It needs to be simple for them to act and to learn information and be more open in that area. Now it's such a burden to try to find something or anything that you might be interested in. A lot of times it's the newspaper or word of mouth where people find out what's happening around them. And I think there should be a better way.
Well, I think we all do. And I like what I'm hearing so far, because these are really important things. And I think that this is one of those things that just has not been addressed on a county level yet. And I'm not sure why. Maybe it just hasn't been a point of priority for the commissioners to say, "Hey, we've got to make we got to make a better way to hear from the people. So that could definitely be a very positive thing. What can you give us an idea for those that don't know where Precinct 4 is? Like a roundabout idea. I just found where I saved it, but
so if you start at the courthouse in Cleburne, it goes just a little bit east of there. It follows the railroad tracks up to 174. As you're going 174 from Cleburne, I guess into Joshua and up to Burleson, it's everything on the right-hand side. There's a small portion there around the schools in Joshua on the right that it doesn't encompass, but then it picks up right back past the stadium. If you follow on the right-hand side of 174 going north, it's all of Mountain Valley. It covers everything on the right-hand side of the road, all the way up to Kroger and CVS there at 731 and 174.
Oh, yeah, it goes all the way to McNairn.
Yep. So if you turn right there and then go south back on 731, it goes all the way down to about the winery, Lost Oak. And then it cuts
right
across.
Where I cut off, and I think that's Precinct 5 then, right?
Well, there's 4 precincts, so.
Oh, okay.
That's probably 2 there.
I was just said I just said that. Woo!
And then the northern boundary kind of cuts through Cross Timbers and County Road 707, Bethesda Road, a little bit of Briar Oaks. It's basically that northeastern border is the railroad tracks down to County Road 707. Then it cuts over to 35 and 67. Everything south of 67 and east of 35 is part of Precinct 4. And then everything north of 171 from Cleburne to Hillsboro is in that same area. So it encompasses, parts of Burleson, Joshua, Cross Timbers, a little bit of Briar Oaks. You've got Keene, Alvarado, Venus, and Grandview.
All right, you
wish it was
and Coyote Flats. Let's not leave Coyote Flats out.
Yes.
So I do have some questions for you from some commenters on Facebook, and I want to get to the top here. And good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Jamie Stanford asks, what do you think about all of the apartments coming to Burleson and increasing traffic? How are you going to relieve traffic congestion?
That is a big issue. I mean, it's not just Burleson, Joshua, North Cleburne. There's apartments coming everywhere, and to me, that's those areas are zoned for that multifamily. That's something that the cities have already set up. Most of those apartment complexes are coming into city limits. They're not in the county, and I don't know that the county has the same guidelines that a city would have on what they where they set up multifamily jurisdictions. So. There is an issue with traffic. I think more traffic impact analysis studies need to be done. We need to look at the roads as a whole. TxDOT has some bad roads. The county has some bad roads. And to me, being more collaborative with our other entities and not just trying to take it all on ourselves, I think that we need to be able to work with the municipalities. We need to be able to work with TxDOT and come up with a plan for our area or a regional plan. Not just try to manage what you're there for, but to also include those other entities around us.
Yeah. TxDOT does have a plan that's already been presented for, making changes to 174 Renfro. Is it going down far enough yet? Probably not, but we talked about this yesterday, I believe, with Chris Bedecker. Texas has never been great about pre-planning for what's coming. I don't understand it.
Exactly.
I've been here 25 years, and and it's been nothing but expanding since I've moved here. They just don't pre-plan. So it's not really under the control of the commissioners, but that is a great thing to say. We've got to have the communication between the municipalities, the county, and TxDOT. Do the commissioners are they already communicating with TxDOT and the municipalities? From what I'm understanding so far from the interviews we've had is that the county hasn't really been working great with each individual city. So how do you bring all of that to the table together?
Like I said, I think it's about collaboration and setting up those meetings and engaging those other entities. It needs to be everybody within this region have a regional planning stage, and whether if that's set times or monthly meetings or even quarterly meetings, I think it's something that everyone needs to say. We've got developments coming in here. Here's an apartment complex. We've got a new school being built. All of that needs to be talked about in a more timely fashion, and not after it's happened, but beforehand. One of the things I did want to touch on, I just happened to glance up at the clock, but
you're good. We got 5 minutes, and it seems short until you get really down.
Until you sit down.
But yes, but I do want to make sure you hit everything that you want to hit. So
So the other big issue to me is property tax. I've watched it affect people, from family to friends to, just anybody you meet along the streets and along this campaign. But I want to make it clear that I do support the eliminate property tax in their efforts. Um, we were told here this past year that Johnson County cut our property taxes by 5 cents. And then you get your property tax statement and see that your valuations have skyrocketed. One of the things I want to do is work to bring a more conservative approach um, to our relationship with the Central Appraisal District Board of Directors. That board currently consists of 6 people, and the majority of them are elected officials or previously elected officials for taxing entities. I believe that it needs to be an independent tax-paying person that represents us there, and I will fight very hard if elected commissioner to bring that forward. You can't give a tax cut on one side and then be representing the appraisal board on the other side and say, I'm going to raise your valuations. A lot of the people you talk to that are over 65 say, well, my taxes are frozen. Well, yes, your tax rate is frozen, but not your valuations on your property. To me, we shouldn't be a tenant to the government for our property. If we purchase our property, it's something that we own. We shouldn't have to continue to fight and pay for these astronomical valuations that keep skyrocketing. And I just think that there needs to be a more fair and equitable way to recover those taxes. I mean, we need those taxes to survive for all the entities, but it needs to be something that's more fair and equitable.
I'm in complete agreement with you. I think a good comparison would be that we pay taxes when we buy a vehicle.
Correct.
We don't continue to pay taxes for that
Right.
vehicle that we own because we paid for it. We bought it, we own it. And why do we have to keep doing that for our home? I understand there has to be an offset and a balance so that we can pay for schools and such. I'm not necessarily against paying for the school that I want my kid to go to. I never thought I would actually say that before, but I actually kind of agree with that now, especially when we're looking at a state that wants to. We're so stuck by tech and them telling us this is what your kids have to learn,
Right.
which the education system makes 0 sense right now because they're not even learning history properly. It's very frustrating.
And if you go back to the previous question about apartments, look at what that strain is putting on our tax population.
Right.
You've got people that are renting or apartment dwellers. They've got kids in these schools that they're not paying any portion of that tax. To me, I don't believe that the state properly funds the schools. They haven't for a long time. We need to work with our state legislatures, and we really need to revamp that whole process.
I completely agree with that. So
100%.
if you haven't looked, the Central Appraisal District of Johnson County, your current board of directors are Byron Black. He's the chairman. Toby Ford is the vice chairman. Don Beeson is the secretary. Brenda Webb is a member. Vance Castles is a member. And then, of course, Scott Porter is our tax assessor. The whole process of how it's happening. We've fought them. And I think most people don't even realize as a homeowner, you have a right to fight. I highly recommend hiring an attorney to help you fight it because it does work. And I've seen it personally. We've done it ourselves. We had to do it and make a deal on our commercial property, a 3-year deal to keep it at a hold because it hadn't improved. So your valuation skyrockets, your taxes go up when you've made 0 improvement to your home in let's say 10 years. And let's not even talk about people's taxes being frozen at a certain age. I mean, I agree with that. It should absolutely happen. But I also think their valuations do go down.
Right.
They don't get frozen at that. If valuations drop, theirs does drop too.
Correct.
They just won't ever go above that capped amount that they froze at when they turned 65. So we've got a minute and a half. What do you want to make sure people know for certain about you, why they should vote for you in this election?
Like I said earlier, I think accountability and accessibility. I want to work for the people. I'm not interested in being a politician or making a career out of this. This is something that I just felt a need and a calling to come and help and to be able to stand up for the people that have tried to get something done and it hasn't happened for them. I want to be more open. I think that we need our taxpayers to be more involved in government. And however we go about that, if it's a quarterly newsletter or if we have town hall meetings or, whatever we need to do to make sure that we are talking to our constituents, and that we're including them in the process. Not that they're just having to live at the will of what the Commissioner's Court has done. You know, a lot of people complain about things, but then if you ask, how did you, have you looked into it? And a lot of times no, because they don't know where to go. So I think about being more transparent and being able to put more information out there at the fingertips of people. Everybody knows that we're in a digital age now. And I mean, our children can look up things on a phone faster than we can. But,
right.
We need to be able to have that information accessible and more readily available to the people.
One final question. Toilet paper, over or under?
Over.
Yes.
Always.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
It's
you
been
both.
great getting to know you, Mark. Good luck. Go to Mark Eder, EDER.net to learn more. Reach out to him personally. We'll be back in just a moment after this break with Mr. Norrid.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, JoCo Community Radio.
Hey, Jill, congratulations on your son getting into the college of his dreams and with a full scholarship, too. Yes, we are so proud of him. You know, I have to be honest. I'm a bit worried about our daughter getting into college. It's so competitive out there, and I feel overwhelmed with where to start. I completely understand. Listen, I felt the same way. And then I met Dr. Gina of Education Prep Centers. She put a plan in place that helped our son stand out in the admissions process and that gave us a peace of mind for how to create a financial roadmap for his future. Wow, that's great. Sounds like I need to give her a call. Yes, she definitely helped our son find the perfect college, meet all his deadlines, and help us feel less anxious about the whole process. You need to reach out to her. Just check out educationprepcenters.com and set up a complimentary assessment with Dr. Gina. You'll be so glad you did. Education Prep Centers, college admissions made easy.
Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feathershare Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Featherchair, the world's lightest wheelchair, is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
Out-of-date carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleburne, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleburne, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
Wilfred Brimley for Loafing Dog.
I'm Wilford Brimley for Loafing Dog. You know, when I get the hankering for a hot dog, I go to Cleburne, Texas. Just a couple blocks off the square, they got Loafing Dog. They got the Neely Dog, the Mary Sunshine Dog, the Casey Dog, and the Shirley Dog. Why, they even got the Pacer Dog, the Brooklyn Dog, and the Jim Dog. Can't forget the Shane Dog, or the Joy Dog, and the Monty Dog. I like that fool. The Nakia Dog and the Braxton Dog round things off. Why, they even got a kids menu too.
Loafing Dog, 208 East Chambers Street, Cleburne, Texas. Lunch, catering, or takeout, plus outdoor seating. Phone number is 817-556-1040.
This is Wilford Brimley. And don't forget, Loafing Dog won't give you diabetes.
When you're hungry for tender brisket or some delicious homemade cobbler, then look no further than Leach Brothers Barbecue, located at 1106 East Henderson, Cleburne, Texas. Leach Brothers has been family-owned and operated since 1950. Take it from me, Taco Joe Orwinski. Todd and his family have been filling my belly breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a long time. Heck, I even have my own booth, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Come see them for dine-in, carry-out, and all your catering needs.
Serving Johnson County, Texas, JoCo Community Radio.
All right. Normally, we would be stepping into the hour of business connections, but we have extended JoCo vibes to a second hour so that we can get as many candidates in during this early voting. I'm Tiffany Carlen with Nona Reed for the second half of JoCo Vibes. So glad to be here. We've got another candidate joining us at the table, Mr. Warren Norrid. Thank you for joining us. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you just fine.
All right.
Awesome.
I'm going to have you pull that mic a little closer to you. And let's dive in because we got 26 minutes with you here at this table. We're so appreciative that you said yes. I'm sure you're a very busy man these days, running to and fro, running for Senate District 10 here in not just Johnson County. It's a very expanded district right now. I don't know what shape you would give it. It's almost a
reverse upside down leprechaun boot.
There
Yes.
you go.
You've been studying this. I see that. I've heard we've got some bananas and we've got all kinds of crazy shapes going on with our districts right now. So that's the best description I've heard yet. So I wanted to preface that because the way the district expands, there's multiple counties involved now, and you do not live here in Johnson County. You live in Weatherford, correct?
No, that's the other guy. I live in
Oh,
South
you do.
Arlington.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You're in Arlington. I forgot, and that's where your law firm is. You're right. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You were
I was
forgiven.
like,
Thank
oh,
you. Forgive me.
I was
Please
like,
forgive me.
law firms in Arlington. Is he
Yeah,
driving that
no,
far?
it is.
He could be.
I'm looking at him now. It's okay. But you do live in
We're doing
Arlington.
A lot of studying.
And I say that because I don't want people to understand a Senate district is important, that it doesn't mean that they're going to live within the city you live in or within the county that you live in,
Right.
especially the way that it's expanded and changed and turned into crazy upside down leprechaun boot shapes. I say that again 50 times. And so let's dive in and for people who don't know you in Johnson County, tell them about you and your family. You've been here a very long time and how you ended up in this space right now running for State Senate District 10.
Okay. So I came down to Texas from Oklahoma. Born in Shawnee, Oklahoma, same city as Brad Pitt, about 6 months apart. So you can remember that. Came down here to go to school at the University of Dallas in 81. And then I wound up bouncing around, finished up at UTA in 90. And then I had to stretch that into a fun college career. And then I got my master's degree in electrical engineering in 93 and worked in nuclear power plants and all over in Hood County and with Comanche Peak. Then when my oldest son turned 4, I said, I need an education for my child. And Michael Williams said, why don't you try charter school? And I said, what is a charter school? And that was 24 years ago. So we started Arlington Classics Academy, which is the largest startup charter school in the nation at the time, currently educating 1,500 kids a day, giving them an option different from what they would be otherwise provided. So I think that's one of the secrets that we have is that we one of the directions we should have educationally is we should be doing that, more of that. I got tired of being represented by a Democrat who did not hold my values. And whenever she left to go with the state house, Democrats to DC, the only senator that did that, I said, no, this can't stand. We got to do something about that. So then I announced. And so, of course, I bought signs for 1 county and wound up with 8 when the line when the district was redrawn. Of course, it's going to be a Republican that wins this. If the lines were the way they were now 4 years ago, Trump would win by 60%. So it's going to be a 65 or so percent win for the Republican in the general. So this is where the action is in the primary.
So do you feel that it's fair to shift the districts in a way that it does align for party voting to be a little more unbalanced when you're looking at it that way? I mean, if the districts were already shift the way they are now, like you said, Trump would have won. So do you think it's fair for us to look at districts that way, to be shifted in a way that it's not about the people, it's more about the votes?
Yeah, I play a lot of chess, and if I were living in a lot of counties right now, and Johnson's not so far out, right? If the first time the lines were drawn, it had Johnson and Parker and Tarrant. Not too bad. Now it's crazy. I would say that if I lived in one of those really hinterland counties, I would feel a lot like a pawn that's being sacrificed. Now you're going to get a good representative, a good senator, one way or the other. But I have to go 3 hours to get across. I was joking around. Do I have to take my colors off as I go through Hood and Eastland? You know? So that was kind of a strange deal. But it's not the way I would do it. But I live every day with laws that are not the way I would do it. So I just live with what we got.
So I've been to your Facebook page, and you are a ecumenical Republican. So for those that don't know what that means, please explain to people what an ecumenical Republican is.
I say a lot of things tongue in cheek, but that's actually pretty valid. I try to stay on the philosophic. If you believe that government is the answer to every problem, then you're not of my tribe. But if you think that, generally speaking, people should pay for their own lives, they should not get government benefits, that is taxes taken from some people to give to others. We're not talking, there's the black, white, and gray, right? When we're building a set of streets that everybody's going to use, we use taxes for that. But I'll just bring up my opponent voted for a $10 million a year subsidy for the Texas Music Incubator in Austin. Now, that means everybody in Texas is paying higher taxes so that live music will be subsidized in Austin. Now, for those who don't know, Austin has some live music. It is mildly renowned for that. The idea that we're going to take more money from everywhere in the state to give some well-connected venues in Austin free money is insane to me. And I don't think that's the values that we have. And I think that's the opposite. So I got away from the question.
I didn't know. No, I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because I didn't know that she did that. And
no, I'm not talking about the she. I'm talking about the he.
Oh, you're talking about the he. Okay.
Right.
All right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Because you're yeah.
I'm not worried about beating Beverly Powell.
Yeah.
This
is something Phil King had already put in.
Phil King did this.
So I'm really interested in that. Well, one, I'm a musician, but I would never ever ask someone to pay me to not perform.
Yeah, and
for a non-performance.
So the venues in Dallas and other musicians are paying higher taxes so that theoretically a competitor can have a favorable position, because not that they don't already have a favorable position by being in Austin, where a lot of that occurs. It's crazy, but that's the problem that Austin has. You'll have people that say, "I want taxes to be low," and they'll give their friends favors, or they'll say, "Well, I'm against alternative energies getting favorable subsidies," but then they'll make the state and the ratepayers pay for long transmission lines for solar and wind that doesn't show up on any radar as a subsidy. It just doesn't. It just shows up as money that we're spending on behalf. It's crazy money too. We're talking many tens of millions, and people will go into the billion. It's a lot of money that we spend giving people favored treatment.
Well, I want to roll back just a little bit,
Sure.
because you were not a career politician.
No.
And your opponent in this primary has been for 22 years.
I think
so
he's finishing
far.
up his 24th year, and somebody told me he actually ran on term limits at the beginning.
And that's something that you are fully behind.
I am a 12-year term limit guy.
Okay.
But I always want to say, look, there are good people that I'd like to keep forever. The real issue is that you have superintendents and city council administrators. The administrators are the ones that hang around for even more decades, and they are a bigger problem as anything else. I had a city manager once tell me, I have to have 5 of 9 people that disagree with me before they change my mind. So that means you have to have strong city council people to say, hey, this is not the right answer, because city manager says, yeah, find your other 4 votes. So that's a continuous problem. So the way that you deal with that is you have a less intrusive government. You have to establish a policy and a philosophy, and that's where you get back to ecumenicalism, a philosophy that says we don't do that here. We don't do stupid things just because our city is getting bigger. I can tell you, Johnson, when I first moved into where I live in South Arlington, my boys' kids, my boys' friends, they were very young, would say, we want to go out where Noah and Solomon are. That's where all the cows and horses are. Well, there are no cows and horses, or at least very few, in South Arlington these days. And Johnson County is going to go that way too, right? And so right now you still have a lot of it, but in the next 20 years, you're going to deal with this unfettered growth, and you'll have people who are well positioned to take advantage of their good connections. And people will start saying, we're a big city now. We have to start doing stupid things. It's very important we do stupid things like other big cities, and you have to watch that.
So you had answered, excuse me, you had answered some questions. Campaign for Liberty.org championed you because you were one of very few who actually answered all their questions. So do you mind if I ask you these survey questions?
I have no idea when that occurred.
Okay.
I have answered a lot of surveys, but go ahead. Let's get the second level.
It doesn't say when you answered it, but it says that you did answer it. So one, will you oppose all tax and fee increases and work to cut taxes and spending instead? The survey you don't remember answering said you answered yes.
Correct.
Okay. Do you oppose the use of state funds to advocate for growing the size of government through the use of hiring government employees as lobbyists and or paying for the lobbying activities of private groups or associations? That's a very winded question.
It's the issue of taxpayer lobbying.
Right. And the survey says you answered yes.
That's correct.
Okay.
I'm against such things.
Okay. Will you oppose all infringements on law-abiding citizens' Second Amendment rights? Survey says you answered yes.
Yes. Now that one, let's focus on that for just a minute.
Okay.
Because we have a little interesting thing. My friend Phil, in 2017, received into his committee, because he was the head committee chair, John Stickland's constitutional carry bill. And it never left his committee. He killed it. He was the committee chair. Now, when I accosted him at this and on a forum, he said, oh, that's a lie. There was another bill that he championed because it had a better chance of passing. Now, I'm not sure why we can't pass both of them out, but I can tell you why they don't do it, because they don't want to embarrass anybody who doesn't want to vote for it or vote against it. So he championed another bill that was supposed to be, and it never made it out either, though. Too bad. So this cycle around, we had 80,000, I'm told 80,000 phone calls. It was very clear to the higher establishment that they needed to move this thing out. And really, who cares about constitutional carry except us gun nuts? I mean, it's like another 15 or 16 states already have it. It's not been a bloodbath anywhere. It's just us people. And so it's a Republican priority. And so we're going to pass it now. During the passage, there were 2 interesting amendments. One amendment said, because it came out as 21 and over, and the amendment said, we're going to give it to 18, 19, 20-year-olds as well. You know, people who are often in the military and have are shooting fully automatic weapons. And he voted against that. He voted against constitutional carry for 18 to 20s. And then when it came time to say, do you want to have it for state parks, he voted against it. There is a strain of cop. And of course, Phil used to be a cop, and we back the blue, of course, but there's a strain of cop that says, I don't want people other than me to have guns. And it's not every cop, it's not even a majority of cop, but it's a strong strain of minority of cops that think this way, and they never really lose it. And Phil is that guy. So is he anti-Second Amendment? No, he's not. He's not a gun grabber. But when it comes time to let other people really say, what is the Second Amendment about? It's about cannons. We want cannons to fight the British at Lexington and Concord. And you know, I'm telling the truth. That's why I came.
I'm going to stuff my muskets.
And the colonists said, you don't need cannon. We'll take care of you. And the colonists said, no, thank you. We'll keep our cannon.
Right.
You know, that's why we have the Second Amendment.
Right.
It's not about, anyway, so there you go. So
it was about the people. since we're on this subject, how do you feel though about how do we control the mental health, the people who have mental health issues? How do we screen them? How do we control that part of it? Especially now we have a major epidemic in our country with mental health
We
issues
do.
going on, and obviously we're not New York, but there's some crazy stuff going on over there right now. And but how do you feel about that? How do we screen those people? Do you feel we have a right to screen people with mental health issues or not, and let them have a weapon in their hand freely?
Well, I think that red flag laws generally don't do what they are intended to do. There are examples where, and usually it's women that are in trouble because a crazy boyfriend's coming for them. And if there was a waiting law, they'd be dead. And there are as many examples as people want to find. And so waiting law, all these laws that seem like there are solutions looking for problems. We haven't seen a big problem with mental health, mentally ill people buying guns. What we've seen is mentally ill people using guns that are already available to them because of a sloppy parent or something like that. And so when people say, well, what about this? I don't trust the government people to do that. Right. And we have the FBI that's focused on school board critics instead of the guy that shot at people in Las Vegas. Did they solve that one? Did they figure that one out? But no, we're going to take the time out to go this. So I'm not sure that I trust, even though I'm running for Senate, I'm not sure that I would trust any of the bureaucrats with that kind of issue anymore. I do think that dealing with mentally ill, I'm still an engineer at heart, and I think of what do I want? And people don't they don't wake up crazy one day. They slowly spin out of control. They start as normal people,
or they come off their meds.
Right. Well, there is that, right?
Yeah.
But people are trained to say I'm okay with living on the streets and asking for money on the side, and they have to be trained not to do that. And so I would suggest that we slowly stop giving people free money. We're coming off COVID. And so what do you think is going to happen? I wrote about this in March of 2020. We're going to give people money. We're going to tell them they can't work, and we're going to tell them they can't be evicted. What do you think is going to happen? Oh, and you can't be put in jail.
Right. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Okay. You were asking for social unrest. And I wrote about that in March of 2020. Of course, George Floyd was in May. And if it hadn't been George Floyd, it would have been somebody else.
Right.
That was a predictable result of people they're all essential. None of them missed a paycheck, right? None of them missed a paycheck. And they're telling everybody else just to live with it and sacrifice a little bit. And I have strong words for someone that says, you guys just need to sacrifice. When those people empty their bank accounts and stop taking money and to give their money to everybody else, then they can preach to me about sacrifice. But none of them did. Not Abbott. None of them did. And so you're going to have struggles if you do that. And now, of course, the average person, upper middle class person that often has 2 or 3 rent houses, they're not rich people, but you can't evict anybody. And it's just a nightmare and a disaster. And so we cause a lot of these problems. And then we wonder, what are we going to do about this problem? Let's stop doing harm.
Well, you have to fix the process. I mean, we've been talking about the welfare system. I mean, for I think since it started.
Right.
And I think I think some people believe in welfare. I believe in workfare. If you need a handout for a while, that's great. We got something you can do. There's always a job to be done.
There are plenty of jobs to be done, right?
Somewhere.
100%.
If somebody wants a job, it's hard. It's not that hard to get a job. And sometimes some people need a bridge from where they are living under a bridge to a place where they can get a job. And so, but there are an infinite number of good causes. So are we all going to arm wrestle and decide that my good cause, I want to give dental health to indigents. Somebody else wants to take care of AIDS, and somebody else wants to take care of their favorite charity. You lower taxes and you let people give money to the charities of their choice. And then you get away from the non-discerning government programs that gives money to everybody who can fill out a form a certain way.
We had this argument actually locally in Burleson when the freeze took place last year. And there were some people who were really upset and felt that the fix of the problem for people who lost power relied on local city government, when in fact it was our churches who opened their doors, and as it has been since the beginning. So I'm in complete agreement with you. I mean, why we should not be relying on our government. Government was never put in place so that we could rely on them, although the federal government answers to us. And I think you actually have that somewhere on your website. So I'm in complete and total agreement with that. We've got to, something has to change. So something has to change. So hopefully that's coming. Hopefully that's coming. So one of the next questions on the survey was, will you support legislation to end the use of no-knock warrants for nonviolent crimes? Survey says you answered yes.
Right. I generally find the no-knock warrants. First of all, okay, well, let's back up a little bit. Often people will have no-knock warrants, but the cops will go ahead and knock, and then they'll give it a moment. My problem is that if you're busting into somebody else's house and you are immune from suit and there's nothing they can do, and they don't see who you are, but they've got the radio up or whatever the case may be, and you have innocent dead people every year. Every single year we have a disaster where somebody goes into the wrong house and people die. That's absurd. And this is usually over the war on drugs, right? This is all. So I'm a fan of moving away from a militant war on drugs that doesn't help us. So
okay,
that doesn't mean I'm in full legalization or anything like that. So
no, but it's a smart answer, in my personal opinion. I don't want to focus too much on some of these questions because we've got 5 minutes left, and I want to make sure that you're able to communicate everything that's important to you for people to know. But I do want to read something that is on your Facebook, and it's from one of your sons, Solomon. And I just thought this was really, really special. He has walked the walk for, I guess your wife started out the writing of this, but from our son, Solomon Norrid. As a wife, it has been one of life's biggest joys to see how our sons, Solomon and Noah Norrid, respect and love their dad. He has walked the walk for them and shown them how to love their God, their mother, and liberty. Loving your mother, that's a big one. That's a big one. If you're a Texan who is tired of the Texas political establishment, vote for my dad, Ward Norrid, for Texas Senate 10. His record speaks for itself. Here he is defending Shelley Luther against Governor Abbott and Dallas establishment when they shut down her salon during lockdowns. There's YouTube links, and I'm gonna share all of this when the show is over, because I really do think this is a great place to. These are great resources to see who you are. There's also a documentary about you fighting the Arlington establishment's plan for constructing the new stadiums, which ultimately displace low-income communities using eminent domain and artificially raised rents in the process. People don't think about those things, but yet they vote for them.
Right.
On your firm's blog, you can see summaries of other cases where he has defended civil liberties, such as defending against vaccine mandates against Texas workers, defending Texas bar owners during lockdowns, representing Young Americans for Liberty and other businesses like Jim's Car Wash against Dallas, fighting contract tracing, term limits, and so much more. And that's at the Norrid, NORRED law.com/blog. And you can read about all of those different cases. I want to pop down to another section of what he says here. My father is feared by the Texas establishment, who does not want an independent voice that will not give in to special interests and political comfort. My father has always fought for what he thought was right, yet he is flexible to new ideas and will listen to anyone reasonable. He literally never takes a day off if he doesn't want to, and is one of the most loving individuals on the planet. I'm proud to support my dad for Texas Senate 10, and I hope he has your support too. No one is better for the position. Texas cannot continue to be run by politicians who only care for their own reputations and not for the people. And that's from your son. Good job, son. There is something else down here on your Facebook that I was also that I really liked, and I may have scrolled past it. And it's in support of a woman in upstate New York here she is. February 13th, you posted this. You want a black female for the Supreme Court? I give you Trisha Lindsay. She's probably not exactly of my political persuasion, but she's A+ on the issue at hand. I'm going to include the link to this too on our Facebook page because she is a pretty amazing woman. Trisha Lindsay is a civil rights attorney and anti-mandate out of Albany, New York. And she went live on January 23rd, 2022. What I liked about this post is the fact that you are okay with supporting someone for the Supreme Court who is not of the same political persuasion. I also like how you put that political persuasion, because I'm not of the same political persuasion. If we were talking about me, you would learn that about me. But I don't vote for the persuasion. I vote for the people who I believe are going to get the things done that are important to me. So I absolutely love that you support her. And if anybody's, and again, she's a black female for the Supreme Court. So
she's amazing.
So I'm going to share that link too. Last thoughts. We've got less than a minute as to what you want them to know about you and why you were the best man for this job.
This Senate race is most important because it will make the difference in the dynamics of the Senate. Bob Hall is the best senator, bar none, in the Senate, and he routinely will make a motion and it dies for lack of a second because Dan Patrick puts his iron fist on the Senate and says, we don't want any floor discussion. But if you get me in the Senate, then I second that motion, and now we have a real discussion on the floor, and conservatives and liberals will have to stand up and say, this is what I think out loud in front of everybody. So if you want real open transparency and you want discussion that people can see, then I'm the right answer.
Thank you for joining us. Go to electnorrid.com. Reach out to him personally. If you're in support, go ahead and put some money in the coffer. They could all use that. Thanks for putting your hat in the race.
Thanks for having me.
It's definitely it's a sacrifice. So we'll be back after the break with our next guest. Hang tight.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too
there you
many
go.
drugs, listen to
Thank
me.
you so much.
You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
I would like to personally invite you out to the Blue Family Fund Casino Night. An evening of all your favorite casino games, next level auction items, great music, and an open bar. February 26th, 7 p.m. at the beautiful TX Whiskey Ranch in Fort Worth, Texas. All proceeds from the evening will benefit families of first responders. You need to get your tickets today at bluefamilyfund.org.
JoCo Community Radio. Listen live at tunein.com.
girl, because I was.
God was speaking.
I'm supposed to be on it too.
Oh, excuse me. I didn't mean to cough in the mic.
Welcome back to the are we unmuted? I can't tell. Yeah,
we are.
Welcome back to the second half of JoCo Vibes, the extended hour, where we have another candidate running for office here at the table. Miss Evelyn Brooks, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
And again, so glad I answered my phone as well, because we needed to confirm and make sure. So, and Nona thought she confirmed and she did, but anyway, I answered the phone.
You did.
I answered the phone. So I'm so glad you made it here to join us. So, you are running for Texas Education
State Board of Education.
State Board of Education.
14. District 14.
District 14. So where does the District 14 cover?
Okay, so
And really quick, I need to verify this too, because I actually had so the districts for the Texas School Board is not the same as your Senate districts. Is that correct?
Correct.
So 14 covers where?
Yeah, they made it really confusing for us.
Of course.
So
of course they do.
All these districts. So Wichita, Denton, all the way to McLennan.
All the way to McLennan.
Yes.
South McLennan.
South McLennan.
Okay. How does that trail down for?
Okay. So we have Ellis County in there, Waxahachie in there, Brown in there, Johnson in there, Hamilton in there.
So is McLennan
Alvarado, like Alvarado's District 14?
Alvarado, I don't recall Alvarado.
Well, Alvarado's Johnson County.
I know Burleson. Well,
Yes,
but I don't.
Burleson.
But I thought we were District 11.
In Burleson?
Yeah. Well, they must have redistricted.
They must have. That's what she said.
better
They made it
find.
very, very confusing. But she shows up on the Johnson County,
Like I said, 5 years out.
candidate list, so we know you're part.
Right.
You're our person for Johnson County. You wouldn't have shown up here.
Forgive me,
Otherwise.
District 14. I should know you better than this.
That's okay. So how did this come about? Clearly, you are an educator.
Correct.
Tell us about your history as an educator.
Sure. I was born with a pencil in my hand. That's what I was told. I always knew I wanted to teach. I was born just a born teacher. If my siblings didn't listen to me, I taught to the walls. I taught my teddy bear. So passionate, knew where I was headed at a young age. So just always focused on youth. So I started my career in Maryland, first grade, and then I taught in Colorado and Denver, taught in Virginia.
Oh wow!
And substituted here in Texas, and I left the classroom in 2005, and that was the day I went on bed rest. So after that, I just kind of recreated an educator, and so I started a tutoring company, and then I started a small homeschool program, homeschooled my children and other students, and so just kind of took a different approach, taught in a few private schools, co-ops, and that's just kind of how I pieced together my educational career, volunteer a lot, and just a passionate educator.
So being that you've taught in all of these different states, what do you have a comparison between them that you have, kind of compiled these issues that really clearly bother you, that made you step up to want to run?
Absolutely. So I worked in one of the top school districts in the nation in Fairfax County. And also I taught in an inner city school. That was most of my experience in the inner city schools. Good teaching requires you to do two things. Have high expectations for all of your students and understand that all students are guaranteed a quality and equal education under the law. So if all of our schools provided a quality education with equal access opportunities, we would have an outstanding school system again. So my takeaway is good teachers make a big difference. High expectations make a big difference. And money makes the least difference. So as a homeschool family, we find ways to make it work because it's usually one income and we're not driven by money. So we are very creative, and that brings with it the joy of learning. So you take out all of the fluff and you're most concerned about what do these students need, what do my children need in order to succeed and thrive and be successful as adults. And so that is my takeaway from these experiences. Being able to build a curriculum around the learning needs of students was also a big deal. You could see right away, okay, this is probably not going to work for this particular student, or once you can modify it. And I would not have had that opportunity in the classroom. What you're given is what you're given. You make it work for all your students. So I have just a nice diverse background of training where I really got to get engaged with the different learning styles. I was able to take more control. I mean, that's fun for a teacher in itself, having creative control over what you love doing and what you're passionate about doing. And so I wanted to bring these experiences into where we are today. To follow up with the rest of your question is, what made me come out of my cocoon? What made me come out, was when I saw that education was no longer education anymore.
Right.
It was no longer education. And so you think, because we trust, who does not trust school? Who does not trust doctors, right? We just trust them. And so I decided to run for the school board last year, Frisco ISD. And that was funny how that happened. And so I'm on the HOA board. I serve on about 6 different boards, and community members said, you really should run for the school board, our school board. And I thought, well, my children, they're, I have just a few more years of high school. That's later. But they were like, no, you really should consider it. And so I said, later. And then I had a neighbor say, if you run, I'll help you. I have a group that will help you. And when I heard help, I said, it must be my time. And so I ran for the board, and it was through that experience that I really understood what's going on in the education system. So I discovered a lot. Every day there's new information, and it is very complex. But at the end of the day, the deal is this: parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, taxpayers need to be aware of the threats to our education system. It's
100%
nothing like what we think it is, or what we experience as children growing up. It is not anything like that anymore. It's not reading. It's not writing. It's not math. It's not art.
And I don't understand the change.
It's gradually changed in the last 5-10 years. I'm telling you, this is one reason
Former
I stepped
teacher.
away. I stepped away about 5-6 years ago, and there was something telling me I don't like what's going on. And now it's all coming into light. But at that time I was like, I guess maybe I'm just burnt out. And I loved the kids, but it was the whole top heavy.
Yes.
That I knew. I was watching teachers. I wasn't in a classroom anymore, and I was watching teachers. I was still in, I was either a testing coordinator or, a dyslexia teacher. So my role was different at that time. And I was watching teachers that had full classrooms just really getting bombarded with more and more stuff. And I was like, this is not right. This is not right. This is not right. So yes, I mean, it's changed in the last probably 10 years, gradually watching it change.
So the way this new districting map laid out is really, really interesting. Because you start up north, like you said, but then you come, yours is like a C.
Yes.
It's a long C in the bottom. So interesting enough. So you have all of Alvarado, Burleson ISD, it shows 69%. That I don't understand. Does that mean you only cover 69% of the Burleson ISD area?
That's weird, because Burleson
how could you
is
split that?
District 11, is Region 11.
Well, only part of it.
Right.
Only part of it.
They did
So
the same for Denton County, and they did the
just so
same
weird.
for another county. Is it Ellis or
gosh,
Johnson? It's one of those.
And
that-
this is
Bowie,
the way they've
you have-
just remapped it,
yes,
correct?
this is the new remapping that was done in September.
That's
so
so weird.
Azle, you only cover 2% of that school district. Burleson 69%. You have all of Alvarado, all of Cleburne, Azle 2%. There was another one that was only 1%. And this is the weirdest redistricting map. What are your
Why?
What are they
Why?
basing the redistricting on, and how do you split a school district
Right.
between two representatives?
Yeah, the 2020 census is what they're using. They're using that information
Okay.
for the redistricting. As far as the schools, I think it's very hurtful for our students, because some students I've noticed in my district, they grew up together since elementary, middle school, and then high school, they're sent to another school. And it's really not common, even in my district, for a student to be moved about 5 times
Wow.
throughout the course of their learning those 12 years. So it does impact the students for sure. I know a lot of parents came out during those meetings, those rezoning, and you could just hear parents, I moved here. They developed relationships with their friends, and now they have to start over, essentially, with friendship groups. And you could have neighbors, and their kids are in different schools, so same age.
So your job as our representative of 69% of Burleson, but remember we're Johnson County Radio. So this is about everywhere that you're covering across Johnson County. So your job as the representative for us, what does that mean to me? What does that say to me as a parent and as a voter? And how do you focus on what you're doing at the state level when you have these split school district areas that you represent? So it's not the school district, and I think that's important, that I'm kind of answering my own question a little bit, is you are representing the parents and the students that are within your district, not the school, not the ISD.
Well, let's talk about that just a little
Yes,
bit.
please.
So,
Let me pull that mic a little closer.
sure. Okay. So with the State Board of Education, really the way that it's set up is we have districts. We are responsible for the ISDs in that district, in a sense of those are the people we're getting the message to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That means these are the people we're making aware, we're educating what is going on at the state level, and ways to incorporate their involvement in the process. But we really represent all the students in the state of Texas. So you're talking about approximately, between 5 and 6 million, about 6 million students. So the whole breadth of it is we represent all the children. But we are responsible, just like you said, to issues that might come up at an ISD level, a parent level. And what I would like to see, what I have, yet to see in some of the current members on the board, is really building a relationship between the ISDs, the parents, because even though we don't make the decisions for ISDs, I love that. I love self-governing, ISDs. We still want to be involved as far as what is happening in the districts. We want to be involved in which way can bills and legislative make differences, to ease the responsibilities there. So we all have to be in communication with one another. So my vision for running is definitely to have a pulse, know what the pulse is for the different school districts or the ISDs within my district. And also because together, I mean, you're better together, right?
Absolutely.
It's just what it is. So a lot of times things are so fragmented, but if we're together and we have a way of communicating, well, this is happening in this ISD and this is happening over in this ISD, we can collaborate some of the solutions together and come up with, some solutions, some real solutions. Every district is different, but the more mandates that are passed, the more we're looking alike, unfortunately. The more complicated, the more controversial things become, and it's mandated. We have federal mandates, we have state mandates. And so as opposed to, Burleson looking different from FISD, they're kind of looking the same, because you still have some of those ideologies that have it's the same talk, it's the same sound. So now we have a common problem here,
Right.
So how do we deal with these? So I want to strategize with parents and ISD districts, because ultimately the autonomy, the control of the local ISD, it belongs to the parents.
So how does the communication work between a parent and you, my representative?
Okay, so definitely being involved in the quarterly meetings.
Okay.
Because it seems so far away, so far removed, It's very important that we're involved in those meetings, whether it's in person or online. It's very accessible. We need to be very familiar with all the members on the board. There's 15. And we need to understand that when they're setting standards, when they're voting for instructional materials, we need to be a part of that process.
So speaking of instructional materials, I want to go to, I was just on your website. Well, I've been on your website, but I want to talk about the issues that matter most, because you have a list here and you have the answers, but I don't want to read them. I want you to be able to speak to these. And so you've got 5 main issues listed here on your website. So I'm going to ask them, and I'd love for you to answer them.
Sure.
How can parents have the ultimate authority in their child's education?
First, it's very important that you understand your parental rights. It's important that you understand the Texas Code, Education Code. It's important that you understand that in that code, it is written that parents should have full participation or partnership with teachers in the education of their child's life. You have to know what your rights are. And you also have to understand how the laws are written, because now a lot of things are being hidden. No one wants to hear that, but I'm just keeping it real because I enjoyed my cocoon and my life was great. But I know that there's something that there has to be leadership. There has to be people who are going to be truthful and just kind of tell it like it is. So
and we need more of them.
Yes, we do.
We need more people out of that cocoon and willing to take that risk. And it does become a risk when you start to speak up and speak the truth and tell people what's really going on underneath. It's easy to become a target. And so I absolutely appreciate that you're willing to take that risk, because it's really important. And one of the things that you're talking about is that there is a Parents' Bill of Rights for the Texas Public Schools. And I'm going to share we're going to share a lot of these links. I've already shared the link to your website. But for those who are listening on the radio, you can go to Evelyn, EVELYN 4, the number 4, TexasEducation.com. Evelyn for TexasEducation.com. If you are watching on YouTube or Facebook, it is in the comments that you can just click and go there. But I love that you shared the links to that, because most parents don't know it. You know, you register your kids at the beginning of the school year, and you go through the check marks and the check mark and check mark this, and you're okay for this thing and you're okay for that. How many people actually go and read the Parents' Bill of Rights to know what you have a right to allow to be educated to your kids. This is not something that just happens in private school that you pay for. You are paying for public school. It's in your taxes. So you have to speak up. So what is your plan for or ideas on how to make sure parents have the ultimate authority? How do you empower the parent in your position as our representative? How do you empower the parents to do that?
Well, definitely by encouraging parents to attend every ISD meeting. You attend your local ISD meeting, you attend your state board of education meeting, and you become knowledgeable. Now you are an expert. You're an expert on, okay, they're teaching social emotional learning in my school. Can I see what you're teaching my child? Can I see how you're teaching that? What materials you're using? What books are you using? What software? Even go and do a software look. And is there a day where parents can come and explore the books and software? There's passwords on a lot of that information.
Yes, there is.
How can we get that? So I want to encourage parents. Now, it is not a time to sit back. It is not a time if you have time to watch TV, you have time to really become an expert in research. There's very limited TV time in my life.
Well, we're teaching don't we teach our own kids how to Google? I mean, honestly, and I know that sounds so ridiculous sometimes just saying it, but when my kids ask me things, I say, go and explore that.
Yes.
There's a way to go and explore it. I mean, I wish I was still telling my kid to go pick up an encyclopedia off the, off the shelf, the way we all learned. But the reality is they're not updating the encyclopedias the way they used to. We're not encouraging kids to go pick up the history books, because frankly, they're not even getting books in class anymore. They're getting a tablet. And so they're literally being groomed to stare at a screen. And I don't agree with it.
That's the new vision for education.
And that to me should not be a new vision. Not every child is going to be working in the tech field.
And can I talk to that a little bit?
Please.
So there is a TASA came up with this new, or the Texas Association for School Administrators. They came up with this wonderful idea in their eyes on the new vision for education for Texas public schools. They sent it out about 2007. Came together for this meeting, started it in 2006. Had about 30 superintendents from the whole state of Texas come together to visualize what education should look like for our children. Now, missing from that conversation were parents, teachers, community members, business leaders, and that was missing. So they're speaking for all these voices, these 35 people, plus our TASA. So in this meeting, part of the new vision for education is software, technology, a student spending more time. Actually, their goal is 24/7 for a student to be in front of their computer. And actually, you have teachers in front of a classroom and kids are on their computer learning. No interaction with the teacher,
right?
Very limited, and their interaction is through this device.
Our kids are complaining, by the way.
No,
and our kids are complaining. They don't like it. It's like we've completely lost and thrown out the fact that we all, not just children, but even as adults, we all learn differently. You're a listener, you're a watcher, you're a doer, you're a writer. And some of us have to do it multiple ways in order to really absorb
and that
absorb
relationship that teacher is not making with those children
right
is just it makes me want to knock
it's
my
gone.
head on this microphone right now.
It truly makes the children believe that the teacher doesn't care. And some I think have gotten to a point where they don't anymore because it's become a lot
numb, and that's the thing too.
And complacent. It's
Absolutely
easy to become complacent, right? I've got a computer teaching these kids.
Optional homework too. Our district
Yes.
has optional homework that makes the teacher work less hard.
No, there's no grading. Yeah, it's very frustrating. I love to hear that these are important issues to you. We've got 4 minutes. And I want to make sure we hit all of these. So another issue that you have on your list is why do you support? The question to you is, why do you support school choice? Doesn't it take away money from our public schools?
Sure.
So glad this is on you.
Yeah. So the misconception is you by a charter school program, you're taking away money from my public school education, and that's false. So local taxes, our taxes, property taxes pay for the education locally, and then of course the state has an amount that they add to that. None of that money goes to charter schools. So all of our tax, we're taxed 65% of our taxes, property taxes, go to school property taxes, where we are for schools. So that charter schools do not see that money. So the state actually gives money to our charter school programs, and they're accountable. There's enforced accountability, and you can only spend what you have if you're a charter school. So we have charter schools who are fiscally responsible, who have received less money per student, and a lot of them are doing some really great things throughout the state and the nation. And so, yeah, I am for school choice because not one size fits all.
It does
Right.
not. I love that. And if you're in private school, you're double paying.
Yes.
That tax money is still going to the public schools, and then you're having to pay for the private education at the same time.
Money
So-
is not our issue to this education
Yes,
system.
I totally agree with you. What is the harm of students being taught comprehensive sex ed? And I know this is a pretty long answer, and we've got 2.5 minutes. So I'm going to read the other two, and then I want you to just roll through how. If the other ones are faster,
awesome.
Perfect. You also on here is, what is the harm of students being taught social emotional learning? Oh, that's an important one. And did Texas ban Common Core? You can start with CSE, SEL, or Common Core. You tell me.
Texas did not ban. Well, Texas did ban Common Core, but with Common Core, that's a federal program, and we received the funding. We never gave it back, so we're beholding to what the promises are in that agreement. So no, it's not gone. It's just it's a different word, which is why parents have to stay on top of that. Also, I think parents collectively, we can make differences in the state of Texas. So that's another reason why I want to empower and activate parents. If you become educated and you talk to others, together we can make some changes, because a lot of this have been receiving of grants. Comprehensive sex education grant money, Common Core grant money. All grant money is tied to to strings. We just received ESSER funds, the emergency relief funds in response to COVID. And guess what? We're beholden now to this money. All the money comes with attachments. Parents need to understand the budget. Parents need to understand what grants were written, and we have rights to that information. You can use FOIAs. I think parents should reach out to me because I'm totally an advocate here for parents getting back that right. Because here's the deal. We want to be able to give a nation into the hands where it can be trusted and where it can continue. And if we have kids who hate their nation, they hate themselves and each other, we're not leaving a legacy behind. What we're actually leaving is our country unprotected. We once were a sovereign nation, and we loved our country. There was a pride. So now we have a school system that's teaching our kids different attitudes and values and behaviors than what we were taught. And we're told, you trust me with your child. And now whole child is where we're headed. I don't want you to have my whole child. I don't want you to have the soul of my child. I want you to just teach my child how to read, how to write, how to compute, and how to think and problem solve independently on their own, have their own freedom of will, of choice.
Absolutely.
And not the Common Core. And so that's what the state is thinking. Well, since parents are doing their job, I don't want the state to do their job. I just want you to teach reading and writing.
We need to have you back on. I think
Yes.
I would love to have you back on for an entire hour to talk about all these issues. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank
We're
you.
out of time. Again, go to Evelyn for TexasEducation.com, and that's the number 4. And thank you so much
my
for
gosh,
saying yes to
yes,
joining us.
JoCo.
Toilet paper over or under?
Over.
Yes.
Perfect. By the way, Warren Norris said over as well,
Yes, he
because that
did.
is what the patent is. So thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
As little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. These pills work for men and women to improve their sexual performance.